Hi everyone. Today I have a really special guest on the podcast, and that would be my dad, Gary Ginsburg. So, my dad is going to talk to us about his journey of doing inner work and healing himself so that he could transform his relationships. Dad, why don't you start by telling us about your high school self, because now you're 66, but I want you to bring us back in time. Go
All
for
right.
it.
Sounds good. High school was a really great period of time for me. I was president of my class for 3 years. I had a lot of friends, had a girlfriend. Everything was great. One of the best periods of my life, actually. It was wonderful back then. So after that, I got into college for pharmacy school. And I started off my first 2 years, which was pre-pharmacy or medical field, and it was extremely difficult for me. In high school, I was really great in English and history, and then I went into math and science, which was way more of a challenge for me. And it was difficult, and I struggled. I had self-doubt, I was feeling inadequate, my grades weren't that great. But I powered through it, and I went to summer schools to lessen my load, and I got through to like my fourth or fifth year, and I met my wife at that point, and it was really starting to get better for me when I realized I was going to actually make it through school, because I had all this self-doubt, and I would have this self-talk. Oh my gosh, the exam, I'm not going to pass. So I had very negative kinds of thoughts all the time, and eventually I did make it through, but I also was with my girl who helped me boost my confidence, per se.
So in college, would you say that your emotional well-being was at its best, or?
No, it was very low. I had actually no idea about anything about myself. All I knew was whatever my mind led me, that's where I was. So if I was feeling really down or negative, I would just let that run rampant. And I had no idea how to handle any of that, how to handle my mind at all. And so it was very difficult. Most of all those years in school were very, very hard for me. And that's where I was at that time. So I had no idea about any type of therapy or anything like that. It didn't cross my mind, because my parents never really talked about anything like that. So it was not a topic that I was very familiar with.
Yeah, but you definitely knew that you struggled academically and even emotionally.
Absolutely.
And when you finished college and you were nearing the end of pharmacy school, you met my mom, your girlfriend at the time.
Right.
And you realized that having her there with you gave you a boost of self-esteem in the midst of all that.
Because she was like, even though she was 4 years younger than me, she was very mature, and she provided me with a lot of upbeat message, like, you can do it, don't worry. And so I would rely on that to help myself out. Didn't realize that was kind of the beginning of really kind of an unhealthy relationship that I had with her.
And did your girlfriend at the time know that you had these unhealthy mechanisms?
I would say no, because we were young, so we weren't really aware of those kinds of things.
Yeah, so you and your girlfriend didn't really talk about how you were feeling emotionally in terms of relying on her for a source of self-esteem. You were just going about your lives completely oblivious to what was going on internally.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so eventually, after dating her for quite a while, you end up getting married.
Right, yeah.
And what happens as your first?
Oh, in the beginning it was really great. And then, as time went on, we moved together, and there was times when I realized when I wasn't working and I was alone that I didn't really feel good. Like something wasn't right with myself. I was kind of struggling with what I would do with myself. I didn't really like to be alone. I was better when I was working, or if my wife was with me, because she was working as well. So sometimes I'd be off and she was working. So there were moments of that, of feeling, not knowing what was going on. I had no clue about what I was thinking. It's just a lot of different thoughts that would just, whatever came into my mind, that was...
You were just on autopilot. You had thoughts running through your mind all day long. 99% of them didn't serve you, and you knew they were negative.
Absolutely. So all those thoughts that I had when I was in college laid there, dormant, more or less, until the next episode that would happen that would bring up all these feelings that I had of inadequacy, or not being enough, or not being smart enough.
So what you felt in your college years going through school and struggling emotionally, you carried with you in the early stages of your relationship with your wife.
That's right. I could not escape myself. That's right, because wherever I went, it would follow me.
Wow. So was there a particular moment in that relationship when you saw that front and center and realized, oh boy, I got to do something?
Well, there was a time when we were first married in Colorado where there was an incident that happened with my mom that prompted me to seek therapy. So I did that, and then I realized when I went to this gentleman that, wow, there was a lot for me to learn. It was like an amazing discovery. It's like, gee, there was someone I could talk to that allowed me to think about what I was feeling and maybe have a different thought process. It was an uplifting and amazing moment that came to that realization.
Yeah, because previously you had never had somebody in your life that you would vent to about your challenges. No. And when you first went to this therapist, you were mind blown because you're like, I've never had this source of support in my life.
Absolutely. And the reason I went is because I had such conflicting emotions that I didn't know where to put them. It was just something I couldn't handle. So I knew that I needed to talk to somebody. And that opened up a whole new world for me.
Yeah, so you're in the beginning stages of going to therapy. You're seeing its value, and then you and Mom decide to pick up and move from Colorado back to the East Coast. That's right. Make a big career change, and what happens in your relationship at that point?
Well, that moment, that career change that I made, I wasn't really happy in that, and I was upset, and I had regret. And I would almost blame my wife for the move from Colorado to New York. It was where we were living, upstate New York, close to the Canadian border. And it was a very difficult time in our relationship. But I continued with therapy and trying to figure out what was going on and trying to understand myself in a better, healthier way.
And in that time, in the midst of all the changes career-wise and in your physical location, every day when you went about your daily life, how did you feel overall?
Not great, because I would have a bad day and that would just come home. I'd come home with it. I didn't know how to let anything go. I had no clue how to handle any type of negativity or any adversity, really. I didn't really know how to handle it in a way that was good and healthy.
And when you realized that you didn't know how to work through adversity and emotional challenges, did your wife say anything to you ever? Would she point out these aspects of yourself, or was this mostly something you realized on your own?
No, there was points, yeah, of course she would say, bad mood again, or miserable, or whatever. But it wasn't like, oh, Gary, maybe you should go seek somebody. it wasn't that, but I'll tell you, at one moment in my young years, well, I was probably in my late 30s or by then, is I woke up one morning and I really remember the exact place I was standing when I was with my wife, that I said, I woke up today and I'm just not happy. I'm feeling really lousy, and I realized, I've got to go to therapy. I've got to figure out what's going on because I didn't really know. She would ask me, what's bothering you? I had no idea. It would be, I would just throw something out there, whatever, but I didn't know that it was what it was because there was so much, it was like that onion that you want to peel off the layers. That's what it was like for me. But I did go, and it was really a revelation for me because I learned so much about myself. I learned about my childhood dynamics that were not great, and I was able to work through a lot of that as time went by. Anger issues. I learned how to listen and not react. One of the things I remember clearly in the moments of that therapist was she actually used a pillow and asked me to throw it at her, and then she threw it back to me, and she said to me, when you have something that comes up, your reaction is to just throw that pillow right back instead of holding on to it and thinking about it and understanding a little bit before you speak, before you react. So that was something that stayed with me because in the beginning I would react to Pam in a way that was not healthy.
So you didn't know how to interpret somebody's feedback of you and sit with it and understand why they may be having that feedback of you. Your gut instinct was just to defend.
Right, or react in a way that was not
supportive.
Wasn't a good way to react. Right. So I learned a lot of things there. And we went together too. I went with her.
Yeah.
Solo and together.
So you were in these healing sessions with other people, not just your wife, but also people that were committed to self-growth.
That was another healer that I went to, which was this woman from Woodstock, New York, that we traveled to quite a bit. It was part of our life for a very long time. And that was one-on-one. It was like a group of 10, and I got to know these people very well because it was the same kind of people that came quite frequently. It was maybe twice a month I would travel up there, and I went a lot with my older daughter at the time, and we became very close.
And she was only 16.
She was 16, but she was struggling with a lot of things then, and it was a really wonderful experience that I'll never ever forget. Brought us closer together. I learned a lot about myself. One thing there as well was I remember my daughter saying, "Dad, you seem to be angry a lot of times when you come home." And I was like in denial. I was like, "No, I don't believe that. I think I come home and I'm pretty good, So what happens, the healer asked every person in that circle, "Does Gary appear to be angry?" And every one of them said, "Yes, he does." So, and that was like, I was blown away by that. I know I got upset about it, and it was because if they all said that, then it must be true. And I had to really take a deep look at myself at that point. And it was really a great learning experience for me. This healer also did Reiki and a lot of one-on-one with her. It was just amazing. That coupled with what I've already learned was the beginning of a great journey of self-discovery.
And that healer also gave you a lot of important nuggets of wisdom when it came to your relationship with your wife, my mom, Pam. What was one of the things that she taught you that stood out the most about your relationship with her?
One of them was love language. I know that I had struggled with my wife for a long time, and that I was expecting her to give me love in a way that I was showing it. And her love language is not my love language. And I learned that really important, it seems basic, but it's oh so true, is that I wanted to be hugged, and I would, in my mind, I would say, I'm going to wait for her to hug me. You know, like as if she has some
like,
telepathic...
let's just see if she loves me, because if she hugs me, that's like the test.
Right,
like,
when I see her, right. And she didn't, and then I would be like really upset, and that would cause a big fight. And so it was a big revelation for me to understand that, you know what? I need a hug. So I would say to her, Pam, I need a hug right now. And never, ever did she ever deny that, ever. And she hugged me. So I realized then that I have to speak my truth. And it's not what I'm flustering on her and waiting for her. It's only what I feel inside me, what I need, and then I'll ask for it. And it was an incredible shift in our relationship at that point, from me with her.
I think that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was less expectations on her that she wasn't ever able to fulfill, because she didn't know. How would she know what I want? Right?
I think that's something that everybody can relate to, whether it's in friendships or intimate relationships, is this idea that I have this expectation of somebody that they know nothing about, and if they don't return that expectation, I'm resentful of them.
Exactly.
And learning that whatever you want from someone else, you have to be willing to give and to even ask for of that person is critical if you actually want to have it. So I'm sure that really transformed your marriage.
Oh yeah, that was like one of the biggest learnings I had with that healer, and it was really transformative. You know, and the other one was the, you know, I would let my mind run rampant. Whatever I was thinking, you know, if it was negative thoughts, I would let those go and think about them and dwell on them. And what her little nugget was, to be the master of your mind and not let your mind be the master of you. And that's another one of them for me. It's very important because I tend to be more of an analyzing type of person, and that was really helpful.
And when you say that you tend to be more of an analyzing type of person, what do you mean by that exactly? What do analyzing type of people sometimes struggle with?
Well, thinking all up here and not from here.
Not feeling.
Correct, right. When you're all up in your head, it's very hard to be loving and to drop into love into your heart. And that's where relationships lie.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I know I've struggled a lot in my life with being too analytical and overthinking everything to the point where I felt paralyzed. And they call that analysis paralysis.
Right.
So it seems like you were able to kind of let go of a little bit of that analytical safety net and
Sure.
access more of your heart and your feelings.
Absolutely.
Which of course would affect your marriage with Mom in a much more profound way.
Right. Absolutely. And you know, after the healer, I went to Choice Center here in Vegas too, and
which is a personal development training for basically up-leveling your life in any way that you
right. So
want.
I continued to work on myself, and even though I felt like at some points you feel like, oh, you know, I've done enough work already, but it's not true. I learned so much more about myself through not just the basic trainings, but through all the other classes that were there, Journey Within,
Men's
retreat, all of those were very powerful classes for me.
Yeah, and at the time that you started doing a lot of inner work, personal development trainings, I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, and you and Mom dedicated a lot of your lives to investing in yourself, which affected me in a major way. Because as you and Mom started doing this deep work on yourselves, you encouraged me to do the same when I was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
And that has become my entire life now. Obviously, we're on a podcast talking about personal growth. That's my brand. But if it were not for you taking a look at yourself at a very young age and recognizing that something within you needed to change, not only for your own benefit, but for the benefit of your family, then I would not have had the life that I've had, which has been beautiful and incredible. And I would not have been able to make the difference that I'm now making for people through Co-Elevate with Shana. So I think a really important part of your entire story is your willingness all along to recognize your flaws, your struggles, and to have the capacity to do really hard, emotionally taxing work to get yourself to a different place. So if you could pick a certain character trait or quality that supported you in that journey of going deep within you and transforming yourself, what did you rely on most heavily? What trait did you rely on in yourself?
Just to be open to change, open to anything.
Possibility.
That's exactly it. I just always felt that I would do anything to create a better life for myself, my wife, and my family. So I've worked hard at a relationship. You know, we've been married over 40 years. I've been with her since she was 16. And it takes work. It takes hard work, and never give up. You know, I've always had a lot of respect for my wife, and I've never wanted to have anything but her, and I've worked hard at it. So we work hard all the time. You know, nothing's perfect, obviously. You know, we all have ups and downs, but I was not willing to ever throw in the towel.
So one of the major keys in your 42-year marriage to my mom is a shared commitment to growth, a shared
Absolutely.
commitment to self-awareness and to doing the work separately and together, not going into a relationship incomplete and expecting the person you're in partnership with to fill a void.
That's right.
But to individually work on yourselves and then come together and
Right.
create
Yeah.
something all the more better.
You know, that point you make is important, because in the beginning of our relationship, like I said, is I was relying on her to fill my cup, and that will never work. And I learned that over the years, and then I learned that, you know, when I'm struggling, I've got to work on myself, because if I don't work on myself, the relationship's not going to be together. One of the things I learned that was like an aha moment, if you want to say, is the concept of resistance versus surrender. And that was a really big thing for me when I learned that. It was a very simple concept once again, but I think that during my life I had resisted most everything. And I might still do that occasionally, but at least now I know when I can look back quickly and say, surrender to what is.
What does
Surrender.
that mean? Yeah.
Just, you know, like not be so hard on yourself, on myself. Just accept things, but also be willing to work at it. So, I mean, that was helpful for me to have learned that.
And I think something really important about what you said is that the number one trait that got you through all of the challenges of doing inner work to transform yourself is openness. And I think that openness quality is so important, because a lot of people see themselves in the place that they're in, the place that they don't want to be in, and they may think to themselves, there's just no way out of this. I'm always going to be insecure. I'm always going to be angry. I'm never going to feel what it's like to be authentic. And if you don't have that open mind, and have just a sliver of possibility in you, there's absolutely no room for you to grow and to see what you're really capable of. But if you can open your mind even just a tad to the possibility that things can be different for you, that's when you open the door to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, it's not easy, and sometimes it can be very painful learning about things about yourself. I felt that way, but there's always a way out. There's always, struggle will lead to something great. It's not always a clear path. It's not always great. It's going to be struggles. It's life. That's what life is. There's not a person on earth that doesn't go through it. I don't care how much money you have or no money. We're all humans, and we're all, we all go through things, and we all have a lot to learn, and we can learn it from each other.
That's really a significant point to make, because I think sometimes there's this concept that personal growth is all sunshine and rainbows, and
Hardly.
in my experience, that's not the case. At times it is.
Yeah.
But to experience the sunshine and rainbows, you do have to walk through a lot of pain, like you said.
Absolutely.
And you've done exactly that. You've walked through a lot of pain, from healing your childhood and your past to recognizing where your anger comes from, to figuring out how to come face to face with challenge and adversity. And you have clearly risen above all of that. And your marriage of 42 years is a testament of that. And also, I am a testament of that. I am your daughter, and I feel so blessed.
Oh.
Yeah, because this is an example of what happens when one person does the work, when one person makes the commitment to change and to grow. It trickles to every single person that's in their circle. And you being my dad and having spent years of investing in your growth has affected the way that you've parented me as I've grown up. And first of all, thank you.
Thank you, Shana.
Thank you for focusing on your growth and healing so that I could live the life that I live, so that I could be an inspiration for others to focus on their growth and healing. The foundation you raised me in, the fact that you gave me access to personal development trainings and prioritized that in our household, is what has made my life so enriching, because of the relationships I've built, how comfortable I feel in my own skin, the fact that I can actually pursue my dreams and face my fears and work through them. It's all because you and Mom had a shared commitment to personal growth. So your story is really impactful for me and for so many people. Thank you for sharing it.
My pleasure, and I love you, Shana.
I love you too. And I guess the only question I have is, for the people who are watching or who are listening or watching this, what would be a couple of the major messages that you would say to them?
It's never too late to learn about yourself. And I don't care how old you are. I mean, I wish I could have done this when I was 20, or even in my teens started it, because it would have saved me a lot of pain. But it's okay. My life has been great, and I've gone through a lot and learned a lot about myself, but it's never too late. And I encourage anybody that's interested to seek out therapy, help, advice, wherever you may find, and it's a benefit to your life and those that you love.
Yeah, and I think it's also never too early. It's never too late to
Never
start
too early,
your
never too late.
personal growth journey, but it's also never too early because I started when I was 12 or 13, thanks to
Right.
you. So it doesn't matter where you are on your timeline of life. Start now. Start today.
Absolutely. And I equate it to like going, like beginning of the year, everybody's got a New Year's resolution, going to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to work out. And a lot of people work out for 6 months or a year and then that's it. And it's the same with personal growth. You can't just go for little classes and be done. It's a lifelong commitment.
100%.
And you know, there's never a moment there's not a moment where I think that, oh, you know what, I'm done. You know, it's not that way. There's always challenges in life, and all different ages bring up different things. You know.
Be a student of life.
Yeah.
I love that. And to leave us off, I love how you said that you wished you would have started investing in yourself way earlier on in your life instead of in your late 30s. But there is something that one of your healers told you once that has always stuck with you. What was that message?
Well, everything's in perfect order, and that just means that my life has unfolded the way it's supposed to. And so I don't ever like to live in regret, and I live in the moment, and you know, everything I've done has been wonderful and worked out for me. And I can see myself, I look down and think about all the incredible learnings I've had over the years. Moments that were painful, some of them very. But it's all been worth it.
So let that be a message to you that no matter what your life looks like now or what it looked like in the past, know that everything is in perfect order.
That's right.
Meaning you're in the exact place that you're supposed to be in. And find comfort in that.
Absolutely.
Well, Dad, thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably with us about your journey and inspiring every one of us to look within and to seek that transformation that we really want because you're living proof that it's possible.
Absolutely.
Well, I love you, Dad.
I love you, Shana.